Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is your favorite white colonizing Zionist prince coming to you live from the United States of America. I'm Tal, the traveling Clat. We've got some big news. Something is a-brewing in the Israeli administration, and it seems that the Zionist entity is about to take full control of Gaza. I know we've talked about this and we've teased this multiple times, but it looks like the war plans have been set in stone. Let's take a look. Coming here from LBC News.
Israeli ministers have reportedly approved a plan to capture all of the Gaza Strip and remain there, according to two officials. Bring you more details as we get them. That is a breaking and developing news story. But the suggestion is that the Israeli government has approved a plan to basically occupy permanently the Gaza Strip. What might that mean for the region? It's hard to see a positive, isn't it? It's hard to see how that does anything other than fuel this cycle of violence that we're currently trapped in the middle of.
Forget the jihadis, the 2 million jihadis that are in there, right? Just forget the innocent civilians that are holding hostages right now and causing terror to much of the Middle East. Forget that. But Israel occupying that's where we draw the line. That's where we don't want that to happen. No. Forget the radical Islamism and jihadism that exists in the Gaza Strip. But if Israel decides to occupy it because they literally cannot make progress negotiating with these people, that's the problem for the region. Okay, buddy. Very good analysis there. We got from Fox News as well. Let's take a look.
As we approach the top of the hour here, I do want to take you to this live image that we have coming in from the Israel-Gaza border. Extensive smoke that is coming from that area. As we know, there's wildfires burning, but also the fighting there does continue. Israel expecting to bring in thousands of reservists as it prepares for a quote-unquote significant expansion of its military operation there in Gaza. This, of course, as a ceasefire deal with Hamas does not appear any closer to a reality. The Times of Israel reporting that Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is said to have reviewed the plan and appears to be in agreement that it is the next step. A lot to discuss, as always, so I do want to bring in a friend of the show here. We have Jonathan Schanzer, the executive director of the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Thank you so much, as always, Jonathan, for taking the time to be here with us and help break it down.
Pleasure to be with you.
Of course. And first off, I do want to ask you about this possible plan. Obviously, a lot of information slowly coming in, but for Israel to expand its ground operation there in Gaza, do we know what that expansion would really look like?
Well, right now what we have is the potential call up of tens of thousands, maybe even more than 100,000 additional reservists. That's not going to go over well, particularly well in Israel right now. I think people have kind of enjoyed, at least those that have had a breather. I think they've enjoyed it. And I think the country is certainly war weary now after a year and a half. But I do also get the sense that the job's not finished. Hamas obviously continues to be able to launch attacks against Israeli forces in Gaza. We've seen the occasional rocket fired out of Gaza as well. I think what you have right now is an Israeli government and an IDF that is unwilling to allow Hamas to remain in place, even in its weakened form, even as its numbers have dropped significantly, even as its capabilities have dropped significantly. The idea of leaving Hamas in power in any way right now, I think that is the goal. It's removing that threat in its entirety. That's what the IDF and that's what the Prime Minister's office, that's what they're weighing right now.
So
one thing that
at the end of the day, what it comes down to, okay, there was a draft plan approved for a new operation. The new operation is being dubbed, and this is coming from Ynet News, one of the most trusted sources of news in Israel. This is Operation Gideon's Chariots. Israel will bring aid into Gaza to a sterile zone in Rafah, where the entrance will be screened by the IDF to prevent Hamas operatives from gaining access, which is something we should have done a very, very, very long time ago. It seems like all this is wrapping up, and it looks like we are about to go back to war, like big-time war. There's also been approved plans, from what I've understood, of another strike on Iran, like actually on the country itself, directly targeting the IRGC to try to either bring them down or hurt them even more than they're hurting at the moment. Because in the last week, there has been like 3 or 4 ports and different IRGC buildings that have been they've randomly exploded. It's unclear at the moment still if it's an IDF strike. I don't think that it is, but this has happened, and they must be hurting. They've already hurting financially. So a potential strike, maybe it'll be a coalition strike, maybe not. The Middle East is so volatile these days. You know, we're in Syria right now. I believe we do have ground troops still on the ground in Syria, protecting the Druze community there and fighting alongside the Druze community to repel the HTS al-Jolani ISIS forces from the new government of Syria. And now, apparently, from what I understood, Alawites and Christians have got in the fight, and they're fighting the Bedouins of Syria. It's just a mess right now across the Middle East. But I really think that this pressure campaign that Israel put on Gaza has proved to the world we're trying to find the innocent civilians in Gaza. We're really trying to find them. Like, we're giving every opportunity possible. In the last month, there were airstrikes, but definitely not at the level that there were before. There were airstrikes that were very pinpointed at direct communities. Were there civilian casualties? Absolutely. There was civilian casualties. But they were really targeted towards specific communities where they knew that Hamas operatives were standing, and all that information was provided every single time after every single strike. There was that whole fuck up. There was a mess up where we had soldiers who targeted the aid convoy. It was like a medical aid convoy, which was a terrible tragedy, and the IDF did investigation, came clean. It's war. It doesn't end up perfectly. And by the way, nobody else in the world is scrutinized to the level that Israel is. But Israel even came up to the plate and said, we did this, we messed up. Here's how we messed up. But it's been this low pressure campaign. It just doesn't work with the Gazan populace. It doesn't work with Hamas. They don't care. They're not looking for an end to the war. They want the jihad. They want the Islamism. They want to keep fighting until the ends of the earth. They want to keep suffering. And they'll tell you they want to keep suffering. Every interview, all these little protests that happened against Hamas, it didn't amount to anything. This population needs to be rid of the Hamas ideology. And the only way to do it at this point, and it looks like that we look for every way out of doing this, is Israel taking full control of the Gaza Strip. And I'll say this again. Go rewind my videos from a few months ago. Gazans keep fucking up. They keep messing up. They have had every single opportunity in the book, every single opportunity to have ended this war a long time ago and to have dissuaded Israel from occupying Gaza. But imagine being so stupid as a population that you're forcing the country that doesn't want to occupy your land to occupy your land. You're being that stupid. You know what's going to happen now. You won't win this. And Israel will occupy Gaza, and I don't know what's going to happen to the Gazan population. I don't think it's going to be an ethnic cleansing or a genocide the way that they make it seem. But what I do think is that this facilitation of removing Gazans from Gaza and bringing them to different places around the world where they can finally get the help they need, because it's going to be impossible to filter through who's a normal human being and who's a jihadist there. It just looks like that's probably what we're heading to. And that's going to be ugly, and it's going to suck. And you had a reality where you could have just ousted Hamas, who is not protecting you. They're destroying your life. You could have returned the hostages, and it would be over. But this is Gaza. This is the Palestinian population. This is what they do. They are their own worst enemy. And now we're sitting in this reality, and it looks like Operation Gideon's Chariots is going to be kicking off in just a few days now, and we're going to see what's going to happen. I know personally, I can tell you guys, many of my friends who are on reserve duty did get the zimun, did get the call up to go back, and it looks like many of the forces that were on other parts of Israel's border are now being directed towards Gaza. So, overwhelming force, shock and awe. I really believe in it. We need to end this war under our terms. It's time to finish this shit. Let's finish it, and let's get on to the next chapter, because we have a lot of cleanup to do after. This is gonna be a big year-long process of cleanup. So that's the news report at the moment. I will give you guys more information on the channel. Obviously, if you do want to support the channel, consider buying some merchandise, becoming a patron, supporting us financially, because a lot of these videos do get demonetized. And I will see you guys in the next one. I love you a long time. Goodbye, class.
If you believe in my content and want to support me, just know your help is needed. There's a bunch of great ways to support me, being PayPal, Buy Me a Coffee, or joining my Patreon community down below. Patreon is the best way to support my channel, and you'll get a bunch of cool perks depending on what tier you join. Another great way to support me is by buying my merchandise on thetravelingclat.com. I regularly drop new merch designs like this beautiful hat or this amazing shirt, where you can support the channel and get something cool for yourself. I also have an amazing Discord community with people from all over the world. Thank you so much for your support.